The next thing I'm just going to go through to remind you about this morning, because, lunchtime, I'm sure you had a great time. So things that are essential questions are, so remember there are things that the answers aren't just there. Mark went through many of these things this morning. They often generate more questions in students' minds. So they really get the kids doing the inquiry, investigating, and then having more wonderings about the information that they're learning and making connections that they're going to be able to transfer. Higher order thinking, we did the depths of knowledge that you have studied quite a bit in Kentwood. And also the students must go beyond, to develop their understandings, even beyond the questions. They want to be engaged. So in the what they're not answered with a yes or no. I remember we had the discussion earlier, some of my kids might answer this with a yes or no. And then that might be something that you would tweak if you think that your particular students in your classroom might do that. It's blurry, or it's not a blurry or large question, so maybe it's very pointed. So maybe that's something that you would work on. And that, if we look down, and Mark went through all of these with you this morning, so I won't take too time, but they're short and sweet. They're not very long questions. They're things that kids can really, it's actually an umbrella, if you think about it in your classroom, these essential questions, where you could have large questions, and then you might have more questions layered underneath for your instruction. And we'll look at that when we start writing some questions. So now comes the fun part. We're going to go through several activities where you're going to write different questions. Just so you know, they're all science themes because I am the science person. I see some yeses in the room. I see some looks of fear because I heard the biology is destiny this morning, and I was a little worried. I will tell you, I took a few topics out after I heard that just to make sure everyone they're sitting back there with Mark and Allison on the table. I was like, I'm not going to go there. So we're going to do this first activity, and there are several ways you can make an essential question. There's not a one right way. Just like with your students, it's not one right way. There's many ways. And it really depends on what works best for you. So the first method that we're going to use, and you're going to do this in your groups, is you are going to interrogate your content. So I gave you a very broad topic on a gold little slip of paper. You should have at least a partner at your table because you're going to go find other people with the same topic when you're done so you can compare some questions. Just so you can see that you might have the same topic as someone. Your essential question may be way different than them, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's multiple ways that you can ask engaging questions for kids. So here's an example of something being interrogated. I did take this from the book, and I thought it was really funny once I started putting on the PowerPoint slide because of the last part, but the content. So you already three branches of government. So you could easily put a question on the board. Here's your learning objective today. You're going to be able to answer, what are the three branches of government? And the kids come in, and they go, oh, that's a lot of fun. So, you start thinking to yourself, what things about the three branches of the government would be interesting or engaging? What else do they connect to in real life? Those types of things. And here are some examples of some questions that might come of, as you're thinking about and talking to the content, why do we need a balanced power in government? So by asking that question to students, they would have to know and learn about the three branches of government. But it's having them take that knowledge and then do some application with it. How might we avoid abuse of power? I mean, that hits home. How should leaders be checked and balanced? And my favorite, does balanced power inevitably lead to gridlock in the government? I mean, I think right now that would be one that would sit pretty relevant with some students. And so those are pretty broad questions, and you can then bring it down. So maybe at a unit level or a lesson level, then make another layer of questions. And maybe it's something like, how did the Federalists advocate for balanced power? So it's really getting down even deeper in the content. And how effective is the U.S. government structure of the three branches? And what are some other options? What could you think about? So through this process, really what you're going to do with your content, whatever you have there, and if you don't know what it is, feel free to Google. It's okay. Go and learn a little bit about it, and then start thinking about what connections could I make, or what large questions could I ask a student that would ultimately lead them to the content, Because think about it as this, the content is almost the answer to the question. So I gave you the answer. I want you to write me a question that would get me there somehow. Does that make sense? What questions do you have?